Okay, we're on, so I'd like to call to order the March 27th Littleton Board of Health meeting. Right off the bat, any administrative matters, board member reports?
Nothing?
So the big thing, just the April 5th, there's a request for, on April 5th, correct?
Yes, I have not forwarded that to them yet.
Oh, you've not?
I will
Okay.
forward that.
So we got an email from Chase Gerbig around the, like to come and meet with the Board of Health to discuss the sewer for the common. So some back and forth emails suggesting, because they want to meet before April 9th, because that's the deadline to have an opinion, including a hard copy report to send to all town residents. So that leaves us with the April 5th as when meeting with the planning board?
Right, they're meeting
joint-
with, they're planning to meet with the planning board on the 5th to do a presentation. So if we could get a quorum for the 5th, and then following the presentation, you can come up here and have a private discussion as Board of Health members and, you know, make a recommendation. They need the recommendations by the 9th, and you don't meet again until the 13th.
What are they expecting recommendations?
So they're looking either for support or non-support of going forward with the smart sewer design.
That's a big question.
And you can take no action on it, but
Yeah.
they just look for, you know, boards that are involved to, you know, either make a recommendation or no recommendation. So instead of us having a meeting next Tuesday and them doing the presentation, and then they come back Thursday to do the same presentation with planning board, if at least 3 of you are available, we can just post it as a joint meeting with the planning board, do the presentation at 7:15, and then whichever members are here, you as the board will come up. They have a couple, Chase and Paul Glavy are sort of the ones spearheading this, so one of them could probably come up with you and answer any questions after you see the presentation, and then you can discuss it as a board.
There's been some public meetings on that. Are the transcripts posted?
Oh, yeah, everything's on the website.
Okay, so any of the public concerns will be reflected there. And also I'm assuming there's been some letters coming in.
There's probably been communication. I can go back through and see what the dates of those hearings were and send you some links to the dates
I
of the
can
hearings.
find them if they're
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah, everything's pretty much on the
I just
website,
wanna
and all the
see what-
hearings are pretty
so
much
then I
posted
just
now.
want to, in addition to the presentation.
I know
just
there
wanna
was
see
one
what
last
process
week or the week before down at the high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was last Monday.
Yeah,
And is this on the warrant, right?
it
It is
is.
on the town,
It
right,
is,
for town
yes.
meeting? Okay.
And what is the warrant for? What's the motion?
For 1.5 million for design services for the smart sewer.
Okay. All right, thanks.
What day was that?
So that's Thursday the 5th, if we can get, you know, at least 3 members.
I can be here.
I can be
Okay.
here.
Okay.
7:15. You said?
Right, so we would start downstairs in 103, and they'll do the presentation, and then I'll also book this meeting room for 7:30, and you can come up here after the presentation, because the planning board is having their regular meetings, so once the presentation's over, you can come up here and then discuss.
So what time downstairs?
So 7:15 and 103, and then we'll come up here following that, so I'll post that. And I'll send that out to David and Gino and see if they're available too.
Yeah, I don't know when Gino comes back.
Yeah, I don't
remember.
think he comes back till the middle of April.
Yeah.
I think he said he was gonna be back right before the April 13th meeting. so
Okay,
I
okay.
don't think he's around, but,
Well, I'm available, so I can be there as well.
Okay,
So we, at
great.
least the 3 of us are there, we have a
Great.
quorum.
okay.
All right, I didn't see minutes in the email? Is that
No,
Correct?
right.
Okay.
So we do have, this is the annual nomination for Inspector of Animals, that we usually just have you make a motion. Phyllis Tower has been doing it for the past several years. She's the animal inspector, and this is the requirement through the state, and she keeps the barn book, and she goes out and does the barn inspections. So all the board does is make a nomination for that, and then I send that form into the state, and they do the appointment for her. So if you're so inclined to nominate her again, you can do that.
So I want to nominate, as the chair, I like to not nominate things. I don't know if it's the right thing to do.
I move to nominate Phyllis Tower of 1113 Hill Road in Boxborough as Inspector of Animals for the town of Littleton.
Can I get a second?
I
I have a
second.
second. All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye, very good. Do I need to sign on this?
I think you do need to sign
Also, Gino's name is as the
Yeah.
chairman, we don't have to change that, do we?
it. I just crossed it out.
Okay.
So no, you don't even have to sign, I just filled
I
it out.
did.
She needs to sign and she has it notarized,
Okay,
so
and
I'll
you
call
have
her
it,
tomorrow.
it's in the records that
Yeah.
we've approved it, so.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, from Alex McCurdy, we got another, person for MRC to do an appointment for.
So let's see, please be advised that James Ray of Jennifer Street has applied for membership with Littleton Volunteer Corps. He has cleared the required Cory check and now may be appointed. So,
So the board just makes an appointment.
yep, so we just need to make an appointment of James Ray of Jennifer.
I move to appoint James Ray of Jennifer Street in Littleton for membership in the Littleton Volunteer Corps.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There we go. That one also.
And then that's just a bill and, a memo with the new rates for Neshoba.
Oh, okay. No discussion here, or do we need to approve this?
You just signed the bill, but you can talk about what the,
Okay, you guys want to review this? It's the assessment rates, be paid by member communities. You guys
that
want to
includes
review
all the
this?
nursing services
Yep.
and the environmental services for the year.
And
Neshoba.
is this approved by the Board of Selectmen?
Yes, it's part of the,
It's
it's part of the Board of Health budget.
It's included in the
so
budget,
It
okay.
comes through the Board of Health.
No action we need to take on this, it's more information,
No, yeah,
right?
that's just informational. And then the last thing is, I sent out the wording for the warrant article for that plastic bag bylaw, and Jim put some comments in his memo. So the Board of Selectmen looks for, because the Board of Health is the enforcing authority, either your recommendation of support or non-support for the bylaw, and if you have any specific comments. Jim had some questions, and Tracy Cutter sent back some answers to those questions, which I forwarded out to you. So if you have any other comments or questions, or if you want to make a motion, and I'll draft something up for the selectmen that,
So I think you said that the only thing that was different was those reusable bags.
yeah, you had said that Westford had
Passed
passed
it,
it, so
yeah.
I looked that up, and it looked essentially the same. There was just the definition of the reusable bags was just slightly different for Westford. They allowed those heavier
Like the plastic ones
recycled,
at
like the ones at
Market
Market Basket that are 10 cents. And Jim had asked that question in his questions, and in her response, she,
Yeah,
you know,
and then
said that.
the other thing about post-recyclable, how much recycled material is in the paper bags, that was another
Yeah.
difference.
On the heavy plastic bags, I think we brought up that there was a compliance issue with that. We're responsible for compliance, and then we would have to make sure
Yeah.
they comply.
I think just getting rid of them would make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I
less
believe they went
confusing.
that route,
Yeah, they did.
right?
Yeah.
Did they?
And then on the paper bags, on the sustainability committee, we've got somebody who's, was the waste manager at Raytheon, who's really active nationally in zero waste, and he said that the paper bags, the requirements, they're not burdensome.
Mhm.
It's pretty standard.
So if you were okay with the work, because they met with you, and then I think they met with the Sustainability Committee either prior to the Board of Health or after, and then with the Selectmen. So I don't know how much has changed from the original draft, but this is the wording that's going in the article. So you can make a motion to support it as worded, or if you have any recommendations.
Anything
I'm
further?
okay with it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think it's good. And it's nice that the neighboring towns have started,
Yeah.
you know, because last, when she came to us, it was just Lincoln. And
Right.
Westford's a
now
big deal, too.
Yeah.
There's a-
yeah.
Whole Foods-
Yeah, I was a
Whole Foods
li-
is probably already all, you know, plastic anyway, right?
No, well, I don't know, I don't shop that often at Whole
No,
Foods,
But I
but,
don't think that they have plastic
Yeah.
there anyway.
all right, do we want to make a motion then?
Sure. You want me to do it?
Sure.
So we want to make a motion to accept, or have Shelley support?
You can say to support the
Support.
article as
Support,
written.
to support the article as written. Anybody second?
A
Second.
second? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right,
Okay,
I think,
does that cover?
I think that was all I had.
Okay, good. Then I would like to open the public hearing for 22 Cricket Lane.
Okay, so I got an email from Kirk Fitzpatrick this afternoon requesting to continue this. They're getting more information. They did get the well test results, but they were still looking for more information. So
Okay.
you just need to make a motion to continue it to, I gave him April 13th at 7:15.
Okay,
Make a motion to continue Cricket Lane.
Second?
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will continue this to the 13th. Excellent. Now we have time to twiddle our thumbs. We have to wait till 7:20 to open it. I thought we were behind, now we're ahead.
So efficient.
Yeah, doesn't always happen.
Very seldom. Oh, I'm not saying about your board, just in general.
No, it's by our board as well. We try and run a tight ship. It doesn't happen.
I can have you sign these two permits.
Okay.
This is one from the last meeting. I just, that was the one you wanted the wording put on the septic plan for the variance. You approved the variance. And I just didn't have you sign the permit until we got that back. And then this is just a permit that has no variances that Jim sent over today.
Okay. Which one is, what was the additional wording we were looking for?
He just didn't have the variance on the plan. He had sent a letter, but he didn't have the
Oh.
variance wording on the plan, so the
Right.
board had asked it for the variance to be listed on the plan.
Here you go. Need a pen?
Yeah. Thank you.
And again, so 73 Hartwell, we weren't gonna be,
Jim received the revised plans yesterday. As of 5 o'clock today, when I saw him, he had not reviewed them. So
Okay.
he said, you know, you can discuss it, and you can talk about it, but he has not looked at the plans,
Yeah,
so
I think,
it's.
I heard there was an issue with that in that the assessors have it listed as undevelopable, and it's got a conservation
yeah,
restriction.
so, all right, when it comes to it, we'll just.
So, yeah, you can
continue it.
decide whether you just want to continue it based on that Jim hasn't reviewed it and given you any comments, and
Yeah.
it could be subject to change again.
Sort of sounds like it.
So,
Okay, all right, this then as well. These are the only two permits to sign?
yes.
Okay.
What she emailed you, or did you?
And we're okay on this one, this is.
This, I guess this was nothing,
This is one of the Turkey- yeah, I don't remember this one.
Yeah, she said that
White
this was
certified, you
one.
don't have to do
No.
return receipt, yeah.
Okay.
Save $350 a whack.
That'd be great.
Nice pen.
Thank you.
Yeah, because for Board of Health, you just have to show that you do it the 10 days in advance. We don't really care.
Okay, it's 7:20, so I'd like to open the public hearing for 11 Loxley Road, GPR Engineering, Title V variance request.
That's the existing folder.
This is the existing one.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Ringwald from GPR, and this is the landowner, Tony Rolls, from 11 Loxley Road. Is that right?
I think so.
And I'm not sure whether it's road or street, because half your assessors things say road, half say street. The record plans say road, so I went with road. But whatever it may be. We have a situation whereby a septic upgrade was done back in 2004 and 5, right on the cusp of the year. I think the as-built came in late January of 2005. The septic is across the back of the property. There's a long area for the system. Comes out of the house right now into a septic tank, into a pump chamber, and then across the back of the property, running parallel to the lot. 20 feet off of the house, and it was a little more than 10 feet off of the existing garage. They're looking to expand the house, but not increase the number of rooms. Tony's father is moved in with them, and they need to provide for space for his father to be able to have some live-in help in the near future. And with doing that, I submitted to you folks some architecturals. Let me pull up one of them for you right here. And now, this is the existing floor plan, whereby there are 3 bedrooms on this end of the house, a kitchen, a dining living space, and then a living space off the house. So that's this is the existing house, which is this piece of the house right here. So this is staying the same. This bedroom is becoming a mudroom and opening up so that they have a hallway that goes, because here this just stops and the bedroom is up and through here. This stops and then will become an entryway into the house and into the garage. And this living space here gets enlarged, and this bedroom will become over the top of the garage. So it's 6 rooms currently. It'll be 6 rooms in the future. The issue that we have is if we were doing this upgrade now and this had been done, then we would ask for local upgrade approval for less than 10-foot offset from the foundation to the tanks. My discussions with Jim were that obviously the tanks are already there, and so there's no place to ask for that as a local upgrade approval. So we said we should just do it as a Title V variance. And so what I've shown here in this dashed line is a 5-foot offset from the tanks. So we're going to be in the 6+ range, more than 6 here, a little over 5 here. Be tight on that end. The whole thing would be to be very careful when we're digging and putting in the footing, make certain that we're not infringing upon the structural integrity of the tanks. Where they've only been in the ground for 12 years, I don't think that's going to be much of an issue, and we'll be very careful when we put that in. But we need your help and relief from doing that. This is a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It's a little over 16,000 square feet. And we're going to be meeting with the ZBA next month for special permits or variances to maintain the setback that we have right now. There's a 25.5-foot setback from the garage to the road. There'll be that on the next one as well. And over here is like a 28-foot setback. It's 28.4.
Do you have a grading plan?
Do you have what?
Do you have a grading plan?
I have the septic plan that was done before, yes.
Well, a proposed grading plan.
We're going to be meeting the grades all the way around.
Okay.
So the site is very flat. There's a slight mound where the system went in the backyard.
I go by it all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was like-
Any questions? Are there any abutters here? No? Okay.
There's just a requirement here
Yeah.
for grading.
Yeah. So, before I read them, I was just gonna see if there were other questions.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, so, there's a question I was gonna ask was about the lot itself and how it was leveled, but you've answered that, So Jim's notes are the applicant is looking to expand the footprint of the house, add a garage, rearrange the rooms, in existing structure to maintain the number of bedrooms and rooms allowed by the permit of the existing sewage disposal system. The existing system was installed 2005 as a replacement, and due to the site conditions, the leaching area is ranged and the location of the septic and pump chambers were adjusted to ensure the fill over the tanks didn't exceed 3 feet, which is Title V max. The current tank locations maintain Title V offset from the foundation for the existing structure, but will be too close to proposed garage structure, so everything we've discussed. Title V provides minimum offsets for system components, but variances to the offsets may be granted by Board of Health when applicant is looking to replace a failing system and no change in number of bedrooms. The proposed construction will make the existing system less compliant because of the foundation encroaching on existing tanks with Title V, but the applicant is not changing bedroom count. So it's a little different than what we normally handle, right? Normally it's a failing system, and then we gotta wedge it into a thing.
100% correct.
If the board is going to approve the variance, I would make it contingent upon the following. The proposed garage floor elevation must allow the site to be graded in order to maintain the surface drainage between the house and the leaching area in a manner that will not adversely affect the structure or cause ponding over the tanks. Otherwise, I don't object to the request.
Totally agree with that.
So,
I've had discussions with the designer, the architect, and to that effect that we need to make certain that the water still will pitch away from the tanks and not towards the house, because that's building code. You can't pitch right to the house, so there'll have to be a swale
the swale on.
just basically past the tanks, between
Yeah.
the house and the tanks. They'll pitch the water out away from the property.
And it's a corner lot, right?
And
So
it's a
that's-
corner
okay.
lot, yeah,
And how far is that? That's 33?
33 feet.
Okay.
So is that noted on the plans?
It's not noted on here, but it would be something that, if you make it a condition, of approval, we'll make certain that it happens.
Okay.
Is there any drainage on Jennifer Street close by? Like a storm drain or anything like that for that runoff?
I haven't looked, but we're not, I'm sure that there probably is something, but, the minimal amount of area here, they'll be able to just, go and it'll be absorbed in with the lawn.
That's why you haven't put the bricks back down, huh?
Yes, ma'am. No, we did put the bricks back.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I needed to do that to get the wheelchair in and out,
Oh, okay.
and the walker. And then there is a drain right here on the corner of this street, literally right there on the other side of the fire hydrant, that's right here. And there's also one directly across the street here.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay, so someone want to make a motion?
Go first, follow you.
Okay.
Is it listed
I'll
on here?
move to approve the, let me see what we got here.
It's listed.
It's just a Title V,
It's listed in the
so
letter.
it won't
Yeah,
have a
it just-
local thing, so.
Move to approve a request for a Title V variance for 11 Loxley Street in Littleton, Mass. Minimum setback distance from a cellar or slab wall to a septic tank and pump chamber of less than 10 feet, with the contingency that the project be approved by the Neshoba Board of Health agent to ensure that site will be graded in order to maintain surface drainage between the house and leaching area in a manner that will not adversely affect the structure or cause ponding over the tanks.
Okay,
I second.
okay, any other discussions? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion as read, say aye.
Aye.
Aye? Okay,
Thank you very much for your time.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want that copy of that letter, or
Yeah,
we have
keep
the,
it in the file?
yeah, that'd be great.
okay,
Keeping you on track.
Okay, so it is 7:30, so I'd like to open the hearing for 73 Hartwell. I see Ted has gotten here, so.
Ted Doucette and Glenn Berger for the record. And to go back to where we were last time, we were supposed to be here, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the snow didn't allow us to come in, didn't allow the hearing to be held, so we got continued to now. And at that point, at our last meeting, we were talking about variances and a letter that an abutter had written. Since that time, Jim Griffey and I have met a couple times to talk about some options, and there's been a change to the plan. The abutter at, was it 65 Hartwell, 69 Hartwell? 65 Hartwell, filed a permit to install a well within 50 feet of the property line, which is within 50, which we made the proposed reserve area within 57. So the well's gonna be on this property line here. The original reserve was over here, and the house was over on this side. So with the well, proposed well there, town council said that we have to assume it's there because a permit has been filed. So assuming it was there, we moved the reserve area to up front. That allowed us to help work with the conservation, move the house away from the conservation 50-foot limit and out of the, some of it out of the 100-foot limit, so that we just use that area to slide the house and try to make that a little more amenable to them. So on this plan, the other thing that we switched to now is that we have just conventional. We're trying to do an innovative alternative leach system, use some chambers to try and make the system smaller and lower, but just the way those fit and the sizes they are, we couldn't get. It's funny that we could get a conventional area out there, but not a innovative. So what we have here is 5 trenches now, 45 feet long each. They're 6 feet apart, so I have another plan that shows where the reserve goes. The reserve area can be right in between there. Because of the height of the trenches now, instead of having a wall just on one side, we had to put it on 3 sides, but I tried to leave, or I did leave one side open, so just for less wall and make it look a little bit nicer. So last time we were talking about some variances. If you want me to stop, let me know. I'll just keep going through it all.
Yeah, let's run
Okay.
through it.
So one of the things that the abutter brought up was that what's become traditional practice with this board is that rather than using certified mail, we use proof of mailing.
Right.
And so since that wasn't formalized anywhere in your regulations, I did ask for a variance to the abutter notification to allow for proof of mailing rather than certified mail, and I say that it's because it's been common practice. And then another one was to, another item they brought up about abutters was to flag the reserve area. I didn't do it, and especially with this change, I didn't have time to do it. But my comment on that is, I'm asking for a variance from that. The abutter that is affected by the fill to the property line is the highway department, and they've already said that they're okay with the project being built that close to the road. Let's see. And then the one we discussed before was we were requesting variance to fill requirements to allow fill be within 10 feet of a property line, and it is the right-of-way. It's not an abutting property where there's a home. At the time, we had the request for a variance to the local perk rates to allow for up to 60 minutes per inch, but we had 60 minutes back here, and we had 30 up here. So since we're not using this back area anymore, we don't need to request that variance. And
So you're not requesting?
not requesting.
The local perk rates?
Correct.
Okay.
And then one that, I think it's one of your last regulations, 33, that requires concrete lids, and I believe that was put in there to prevent unauthorized access. And with these, they're going to be right in the front yard. We'd like to use plastic. They're usually green, so you can plant around them. And I believe I put on the specs, and you can condition it, if plastic is allowed, they will be secured in a manner that prevents unauthorized access, so that kids don't just go pop them up. You can just screw them in and then take the screws out anytime you need to. So that's the variances. The reserve area, this is the second sheet of the plan. which has the reserve area shown and some of the details. So as you can see here, I have the primary in the dark solid lines and the reserves in the dashed lines. And when I did this before, I just had a wall all the way around it, and I just left it like that. Maybe if you had to build a reserve, you might be able to grade it out, but since it's, not something we need to worry about now, then I didn't show any grading, I just left it. It proof, it meets Title V, and it's
Okay.
it's drawn that way.
Okay, so just again, to sort of remind myself of the original is the house was moved more over and then the
Probably pull one up for you if you want.
reserves in the back. Okay.
Yeah. I think this one's shown. So that's the house footprint, and then the reserve was in here.
Okay, and Hartwell
Is, yeah.
So you can change the footprint just to make it fit, then,
It didn't change what?
just change the footprint, even just the shape, maybe not the total size, but
Yeah, we
the
changed,
garage slab is in the front.
yeah, we changed the shape, and we did make it a little bit bigger, and we added the deck, which is pervious, and then, but if you look at the numbers, when we went to conservation, the total amount of impervious area within the 100-foot buffer zone decreased, even though the entire house increased. So this doesn't show the reserve either, so.
So it says conservation restriction over there? Could you explain that?
So, jump in after me here, but it's really just something, it's just a conservation land that is not allowed to be touched. It runs all behind the properties on Hartwell Avenue, and it's something that was in place when the owner originally bought the land in order to preserve the land. Do you have anything to
Yes,
add?
and the town bought a large chunk of acreage, and then there's a separation line on the properties so people don't, affect the conservation land. They know when they buy the property that they have some.
My understanding is this lot is listed as unbuildable in the assessor's maps. Is that correct?
That,
You have-
so if you have a piece of property that's not permitted, it's a parcel, which means it's not buildable. So you have to add the permits to it in order to make it buildable. So that's why we're here with Conscom, to get the permits so that it is buildable.
Okay. 'Cause I
So
thought
it's
that there
been,
were
for
some-
tax purposes, unbuildable, because it wasn't permitted.
I thought it had some natural resources on it that were listed with natural heritage.
Natural heritage.
So those are questions that are outstanding that I.
No, they're not, if you can let
They're-
them explain,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to Natural Heritage about the turtle and the salamanders, and in the time period between when we first did this and now, the turtle has been delisted. So we don't have, per Natural Heritage, the requirement to have a turtle plan. So
Yeah.
they moved out of town. They moved
So,
off.
I still would say those are outstanding, because I think we need to hear from Concom on that to get it passed before I'd be comfortable passing anything. And also, we're looking at variances for a new build, which we don't typically do.
Well, variances to Title V are not allowed.
New build, is that green?
The regulations say that you're allowed to vary them for, you're allowed to vary any regulation at your discretion.
Yeah, at discretion, so we typically don't do that.
Well, I would say we don't typically get new construction.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, we typically get repairs.
We get new construction.
So, yes, we do. I didn't say we don't. I said we typically don't. The vast majority of what we do is repairs. Do we have any abutters here? Right.
65 Hartwell.
Yeah, come on up. Any comments or questions?
The undevelopable lot is a big one, due to the, if it's right in the assessor's map, it says it for that reason, due to the, I don't know the exact wording, but the species that are there is one, and two, I'm looking into the old notes right now, but he bought the property, sold a bunch back to the town, in turn got 6 lots for it. That was the deal. If this was a lot, he would have gotten 7 lots then. Something's not jiving. So he's waited 10 years to go through this process, hoping everyone, I don't know if everyone would forget, I don't know what the whole deal is yet, but in the assessor's map, you can go look, it says it right in there. Undevelopable due to, you know, the vernal pool and the species, so that's not common. I get having lots undevelopable to save on taxes and doing it, but this deal was made in '05, and now he's trying to change things, you know, 13 years later when everyone's forgotten. In my eyes.
Can I
Yeah.
So, I would ask the board what kind of paperwork they want from us to show that a parcel, there's no intention to build. And, again, you don't build on that until you have permits, which is why we're here. The fact that a long time has gone by, that's my financial plan. That has nothing, there's nothing hidden here. Everything is right in front of the Conservation Commission, in front of the Board of Health. So all of the conservation restriction paperwork and the Conservation Commission paperwork says it's a 6-lot subdivision at the time, and there are paragraphs which I can provide to you that said it doesn't prevent any changes in the future as long as, you know, things are filed. So it's a totally legal lot, and I'll be happy to provide the paperwork.
So we do need, it strikes me, we do need input from town council on this. We also don't have input yet from Jim.
Correct, Jim has not
'Cause
reviewed this latest plan.
Yeah, Jim had just received it and hadn't viewed, so, I mean, there's that aspect of it, but then what Conservation Commission says, and then feedback from town council on this. This gets a little bit beyond my
And I
bailiwick.
I totally agree with you, and I also would just say that, given the questions on this lot and the way the abutters feel, and because it is in our jurisdiction whether to grant variances or not, I'm leaning towards, I would think that this is not the right place to grant a variance on a new build.
Because there's pushback from a butter, because in my opinion, when I was on the board, I look at it based on what I have in front of me and the science. If we're not doing anything that violates the abutter's rights or anything, then, you know, you're looking at the science. And as far as conservation, we're before them, which is going to, has been working closely with Natural Heritage. So when you say it's getting a little bit out of your, you know, I think if we focus on what the Board of Health's purview is and
Right.
what your job is,
So
then to focus on just that rather than someone else's permit.
So I would agree, I just want to know if we're doing things in the right order, is my only thing. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Whether it's a legal lot or something else, that's why I say that's town council and making sure that all that is kosher. I don't think you mitigate that at the Board of Health. I think if someone's trying to
Right.
mitigate that at the Board of Health, it's an end round, and I don't think we do that. Same thing with the turtles. That falls outside of Board of Health in my mind. What I'm trying to get a handle on is what order this should happen in, and make sure it's done in the correct order.
So my suggestion would be, since Jim has not reviewed the plan or commented on it, that you continue the hearing. I can request from the assessors and from conservation an update on the questions that you have brought up, and you can continue it to the next hearing.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
town council, it just has to be someone say that, yeah, the way it's being done is legal.
And I mean, we can continue to the next hearing, but I don't know if they'll get through all that by the next hearing.
They will, because it's already through it. We've gone to conservation, been working with conservation and NHSP. We were there last week, and they said they're satisfied with the plan. They're waiting to hear from Board of Health approval until they go ahead and write their order conditions. And
That's
if you,
It's a whole bunch of steps.
That's what?
Natural heritage.
hold on a second. Wait a minute.
Hang on, let's do this.
That's not what?
It's okay.
What did you say? Would you respond to my comment?
I said that's not my understanding.
Oh, okay, you're saying, okay. So that's why I'm here, so, you know, but, you know, I mean, look at the minutes,
Yeah.
that's where they're at. And, you know, if you look at, when you say about the order of things, conservation does say, or the Wetlands Protection Act bylaw, you're supposed to get all permits before you get theirs, and I think that's why they held out for ours,
Oh,
for yours.
Well, my recommendation is Jim has not reviewed the plan and commented on it.
That's
so-
only, my
Yeah.
only concern is just waiting for Jim's recommendation. And if that's the case, then I guess I'd like to follow up and make sure, but if
And-
that's the case, then that's fine.
I don't have a problem with him. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, because
Yeah.
you want him, because he has to give some feedback on this. If he
But I
doesn't-
don't think us, I mean, I would agree with you, my personal opinion, I don't think the Board of Health should be making a decision on a septic tank based on, or system based on, turtles. That's someone else's job, personally. If it meets what we're supposed to be doing, then that's fine, I just wanna make sure, one, I mean, primarily Jim does it, and two, if we're doing it in the correct order, then that's fine, but once we have Jim's review of it.
Can we get a letter from whoever's in charge of, is it planning, or whoever's in charge of saying this is a legal lot first? And then you can go through the process of Board of Health and Conservation, because if it's not even a legal lot,
That
Planning
that
said they made a
determination
deal.
really isn't made until they apply for a building permit. I mean, you can design a septic system and you don't have to show that it's a buildable lot. When they apply for a building permit, they have to show that it's a buildable
even
lot.
if it's an A&R, they can't go and
And
get these.
A&R has nothing to do with it. A&R means it's an approved lot.
Right, so if you get your building permit, if you get your septic system approved and Conservation signs off, you can just go get your building permit, who's gonna stop them at that point? Is building department the one that's gonna say it was already,
Well,
there was already 6
there's-
lots back then, or?
So
you
when a
can
building
divide
permit
land-
comes in, it goes out to all the town boards. It goes out to planning, it goes out to conservation, it goes out to highway, it goes out to Board of Health, Light and Water, and everybody comments on it. So planning board, if they've had any input on this, will say, this was approved or disapproved or whatever at a certain hearing or a certain date. Conservation will say, we've issued an order of conditions, or no, we still have these issues. So each board weighs in on it, and then, they have to show that it's a legal buildable lot. So, I know the assessors did have some questions. The assessors will weigh in on whether this was buildable because it was classified as undevelopable or unbuildable, whatever their code is. So she'll weigh in on it too. So all the boards receive every new construction permit application.
Okay.
So that's the phase that they would have to prove it's a buildable lot. There's nothing that stops anybody from designing a septic system and getting approval. It doesn't mean it's a buildable lot. It just means they can design a septic system.
Okay.
I'd like some feedback from the board on which variances specifically are, that you're against.
I stated how I feel about this, and we don't have sufficient information yet to make a final decision, but I've already told you.
So you're against all variances?
Yeah.
So a variance to allow a plastic lid instead of concrete?
I think, Ted, the plan has changed enough and the variants that are requested have changed enough that a new variance letter should be provided to go with this revision of the plan, because the board doesn't have that, and they don't have a review comment from them.
Right.
because
No,
we
I
just got it
understand that.
yesterday. So I think just for clarity, they should just have a clean variance letter, because your other one
Right, it still has,
just listed the one variance, I believe.
no, I submitted one February 27th
I'll
that has
just-
4 variances.
I'll just clarify that
Yeah.
I'm really concerned with being consistent and fair
Yeah.
to the different applicants that come in. And we typically, my experience,
Yeah,
everyone, and I think my view too is that we're not giving variances except in, in special conditions, and I don't think this meets that requirement
yeah.
for a new build.
I just like to
That-
make
that's-
comment too, the whole letter, the certified mail, I know that my neighbor in front of me hasn't gotten it anyway.
Yeah.
Because they talked to my other neighbor. who-
Right, there's just a
So
lot
it's
going
just-
on
Certified
here.
with mail, it's easy. I don't know why
Yeah.
we're trying to get around a variance for a certified mail. It's just,
Yeah.
a dollar. Sure everyone gets it.
Right. Did they provide the white cards at the first meeting? wasn't
He showed
here.
them, but I
Yeah.
know for a fact they didn't get it, so I don't know if it got mailed to the old.
They weren't
because that house
certified, it
got
was a
sold.
white
I don't know if
card.
it got mailed
Yeah,
to
it
the old
seems like
people
we
anyway.
need to go by the letter of the regulation too, because
Well, what
Rather
the- it
than-
says is certified mail, so
Right,
it
just-
doesn't require return receipt, it just requires certified mail.
Okay.
But basically, what it requires is the proof of the mailing 10 days before the hearing. That's what you're certifying. So certificate of mailing essentially does the same thing, because it is date stamped the day you mail it. If the board,
But you get a signature saying that they received it.
no, no,
Certified mail,
that's
signed to
return
get it.
receipt. That's return receipt. And that's not what's required in these regulations.
It's not.
In other ones it is. You know, the board can work on changing their regulations if they want to go back to that. But in the Board of Health regs, it doesn't require the return receipt.
Okay.
It does require, prior to opening the hearing, that the applicant provide the white cards, proof of
And
mailing.
frankly, I can't remember, because that was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
I did.
He had them.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
he did have those.
But I need
was not
them.
aware that
I
he
need
didn't
them
have
for the
a sign,
files, so.
Do you have those with you?
No, I turned him in to,
David?
yeah, whoever's on the end, I believe, I turned him in. Because remember, I had him. Well, here's the thing now. If this is gonna be something that's not gonna be waived, and we no longer need Regulation 5 for waiver, that brings us down to the fill requirements and to the distribution box lid, septic tank distribution box lids. So, Shelley, if we were to go ahead and notify by certified mail, could we notify for a hearing that's already been opened, or would we have to close and open with a new hearing?
No, you can re-notify abutters because the plan has changed, and you're requesting different variances. So, I mean, you can close this hearing and open it again April 13th. I don't think that's an issue. I think to re-notify the abutters of what the new variances are would be a good idea, just based on that seems to be a little controversial.
Okay.
So the next meeting is April 13th, and you can be on at 7:30. So you have, sufficient time to get those out. So what I would do is just do a new variance letter, just with what you're requesting. You still have the fill to lot line?
Yes.
So that does require the abutter notification. So I would just draft a new variance letter, send it out with, the date and time of the hearing.
Yeah. Did you see the 27th one? Because this was one after the
I
last.
have-
you-
yeah.
Okay, so that one was, okay. All right, so,
So it's gonna be the fill the lot line and the plastic covers as opposed to concrete covers?
secured plastic covers.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's gonna be a no-go, then I'll get rid of the plastic covers. It's just gonna who wants a concrete cover sitting in their front yard? And when you see, when I judge variances, I look at the functionality. Why is a concrete cover there? It's to prevent unauthorized access, because they're heavy and, 10-year-old kid probably can't pick them up. So if we can replace it with something does the same job, then, why not give the variance? And as far as the fill requirements to a lot line, the reason that was written was because it's not in Title V, but a lot of systems and repairs had to be right up against the lot line, and at the time, we thought that it would be a good idea to notify people if you're notifying. So, but this is not it's not up against a lot that's going to have a person living there, it's up against a street line. So that's a variance that, to me, that regulation doesn't apply to this lot line. So that's where I'm at with those.
And what's the distance right now? What's the variance that you'd be requesting?
4 feet.
4 feet.
All right, I'll double check it, but I'll put the distance in there.
Yeah.
So I think the last time you were in, there was a driveway or something that wasn't written on the plans? Was there,
Oh, yeah.
and then maybe some grading or something like
Well,
that?
I know
that
there's
you-
a driveway now, yeah, the grading has been added in here, I put a couple contours in here, spot elevations there. I showed that this 1% shows that the grade has to slope across there, and I have everything showing that it's sloping to there.
And excuse me, it was the abutters driveway.
Oh, right, oh, that's right, then this, the other butters driveway wasn't shown, right,
Oh,
right. So
okay.
I went out there and picked up points, you're right, sorry. So here is the line that provides the easement to this driveway. It extends the frontage here, provides an easement here. And so we're right up against the line, you're right. So there was a concern that this driveway wasn't shown, but now it's there. Good catch, you're right.
Is there, was there a amount of space in between the driveway or anything like that that's recommended, or?
Nothing in
certain-
any regulation. And, you know, I didn't go beyond the easement line, you know, could we? Yeah, basically, because this land still belongs to this parcel, it's just that they're given permission to drive across their land. But this is the original property line here, I figured respecting that was the right way to go. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to push it over here, a couple more feet, come up into here, and, you know, maybe eliminate a little bit more wall, but, you know.
And just a question about design, the walls that you, I mean, does that, does that make it so that you don't have to have so much space in between butters and lot lines and things like that? Like, does that make up for, you know, if you, so you have, I don't know what to say. So you have 10 feet from the road, in the wall, does that make that more or less allowed? Wow,
Yes,
okay.
I can do a sketch if you like, but basically you have to, the Title V, the basics of Title V says 15 feet from the system has to carry out level with the top of the system. And at that point, you can slope down to a 3-to-1. So you're basically taking out that 3-to-1 and you're taking out that 15 feet. So,
Okay.
yeah, you can,
Okay.
gives you more space to work.
So I think we're left with closing the hearing.
I think it's okay to continue it, and based on that, Ted is gonna re-notify butters with the new variance request.
Yeah.
I think that's just a good way to do it, to cover all the bases. Jim will have had time to review the plan and issue comments for the next meeting, and,
Okay. Is that what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
April 13th.
April 13th. That's roughly 3 weeks, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So April 13th, 7:30.
Okay, any further questions or confusions on this? Or
I mean,
anything?
I'd just like to know if those variances were possible, you know, to be varied since they're minor, but, you know, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't fight, the 10-foot, you know, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to give on that one. And so,
Right.
you know, covers, after that is,
Yeah,
I have concrete covers.
I would say it's probably not fair to characterize that we would not be
yeah.
interested and amendable to approving variances.
Yeah.
There may be individuals that,
Yeah,
for new constructions, are gonna be,
yeah,
have more of a line.
yeah.
I don't think it, across the board, we would say that. So I think what you're probably asking for is reasonable, we just need to connect the dots on it.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
And make sure it's there.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, I'd like to, well, we need to motion to continue the hearing to April 13th.
I will motion to continue the hearing on 73 Hartwell Ave, the variances on 73 Hartwell Ave, until the next meeting on the 13th,
Let's add in that he's gonna re-notify butters, so.
after he notifies the butters.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
There's a lot of questions.
all right, now, so, this is a discussion of 17 Roxbury Drive. It's not a hearing, it's a discussion. It's one of those things that sort of always confuses me on the differences, but
Really, the only difference is a discussion you can start at any time
We don't
during the
need-
hearing. If you have a gap and the person's here, you can talk about it. It's not a posted specific time. They have to wait until that time to open it.
okay. All right, let's start this discussion.
All right. Basically, I came before the board in 16, got a 2-bedroom septic system designed and approved, signed off on, all set. I spoke with some people that decided that the best thing for me to do is to redesign the system with a better system. So instead of doing it conventional, I went to a Presby. I lowered the walls on both sides. You were at this meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to rehash everything, basically, at some point in time, somebody on the board named Ann, I believe, sent a letter down to DEP. Mr. Mitchell went down to DEP for a hearing. He was spoken to about the way they handle some things. One of them was Jonathan, I want to say Jonathan, is that the right word, the street? One was Jonathan, one was my property. They said, you can't do what you did with Jonathan, however, they didn't have a problem with 17 Roxbury. So I had 3 abutters. Mrs. Healy asked for a clarification as to whether it is a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom. And she discussed it with Mr. Garaffi earlier as a 1-bedroom. Mr. Mitchell said there were conflicting town records as to 1- and 2-bedroom systems in the lake area. He had talked with DEP and that it had been functioning as a 2-bedroom, and they are okay with that. Mrs. Healy asked if there was a permit for a 2-bedroom system. Mr. Fitzpatrick, who is the engineer for the second system, showed a plan that was approved last year for a 2-bedroom system. And the reason I did that is it increased the water flow. I went from having to have a reduction of 25% to get a 2-bedroom. This gives me the full compliance of it. I lowered my retaining walls on both sides. The neighbors were here. The house had been lived in as a 2-bedroom in its entirety with one gentleman raising 2 daughters. So what ended up coming about is that I got the Soviet Associated Board of Health approval for a 0-bedroom house. They didn't fill in the number,
See that?
okay? And I gave a building permit or a building design to the building department. He said that the Board of Health has to sign off on it being a 2-bedroom, which is the long and short of it. So that's why I'm here asking you to simply approve the fact that I have a 2-bedroom system, I have a 2-bedroom house to go back into it, and
I'm sorry, I'm really confused.
me too.
Mm-hmm.
So, was there a permit for this for a 1-bedroom?
No, it was for a 2-bedroom. Always for a
It never
2-bedroom.
had a permit for a 1-bedroom?
Permit for 1-bedroom.
It does have a permit for a 1-bedroom.
Where is that?
The original permit for the property is for 1-bedroom.
Okay, and that's in 1952.
Yep.
Okay. And once again, the neighbors came, said the place had been lived in.
I don't remember these notes.
There's some in there, there's some wordage in there. I've watched it on TV. I've spoke with Mr. Mitchell, and there seems to be some adage that I don't recall at any of the meetings.
Adage in where?
Words on the minutes.
The original.
I asked Mr. Mitchell if he had said anything about a,
Who's Mr. Mitchell?
Brad?
oh,
Oh, Mr. Mitchell, I'm sorry.
all right.
It says the approved capacity of a facility is determined by the proposed system is, I'm sorry. The original Board of Health permit indicates the house was a 1-bedroom dwelling. Is that what you,
That was from 1952.
yeah.
And
I'm confused, sorry.
Things in there.
And noted in 65 at a repair as 1-bedroom, it looks like. But okay. So, right, I went back and looked at it. I didn't go back and look like, see any. I do remember, I don't know if it's attached, about this discussion. I do remember Brad, at one point, while he was chair of the board, make a statement about we handle new construction differently than a fix or renovation or whatever. I don't know if it had to do with this, but I do remember those discussions, and that was, I think, Brad's opinion, actually, I think. But that was anywhere from 2 to 3 years ago, so I don't remember exactly when it was if it was about this particular one or if it was a different one. So the long and the short of it is, the existing dwelling was torn down. Now, and you'll be,
And I did that after I had received I'd gone through all the steps to have a two-bedroom, replacing what I believe to be a two-bedroom regardless of what, so, in order to put the septic in, I had to take down the garage. Because it went into the place where the new system, the garage was where the new system goes.
okay.
So that came down, and at the same time I did that, I took the building down. And it was always said that Roland would rather see you instead of keeping one piece of junk up in the air, just build a new house. So I got all the variances for anything I need as far as offsets of the, it's actually, I'm moving it further back from the house, from the front yard, only by a couple of feet. The side lots are still the same. I think it's a little bit more on one side, because at one point in time, the garage was 2 feet off the line. Now I'm 10 feet off the line, though I have a variance down to 8 because of the overhang. Roland counts the overhang, it's not just the foundation. So I'd done everything necessary. I designed a system that's fully functioning as a two-bedroom. I paid for the first one, and again, I totally paid out of pocket for a second one because I believe it'd be a better system, though I was approved already for a two-bedroom.
This was before me.
So what I'm here for basically is that Gareffi says and this is, I spoke with him the other day. I think it was yesterday. It was yesterday, because today's Tuesday, right?
Yes.
He said basically, he's not gonna sign, it's for the town, Littleton Board of Health to sign, permitting it a two-bedroom. You need to sign the building permit as a two-bedroom.
Yep.
That's his total thing.
Do we have a butters? Are you in a butter? Okay. Any questions?
So it is supposed to be a one-bedroom house, but it's been a two-bedroom house?
I don't know how we
Still
got
a
there.
two-bedroom
It was
system?
permitted originally, as probably everything was, around Long Lake back then, as a
One bedroom.
one-bedroom house. Throughout the years, it basically functioned as a two-bedroom house. And so the question was either a renovation or ultimately tear down and rebuild as a two-bedroom with a system that can handle a two-bedroom. Albeit with some variances to Title V. I talked a little bit emails with Jim, and I can read them and what we've included. Because it's now a new build, Jim doesn't want to sign off on it. He goes to us to sign off on it. It could put us into compliance issues with DEP
Okay.
unless we were to do things like put
Yeah.
a one-bedroom deed restriction on it or something.
Now that, I have no problem with a two-bedroom deed restriction on it. I mean, the difference in a one-bedroom and a two-bedroom when it comes to, see, I did everything right. I followed the rules, I followed the whole, I did everything right. I got the permits, I did everything. Knowing, and the house I designed is not a monstrosity. It doesn't, I didn't build it with a basement, so I don't have a sump pump going 24/7. I lowered the roof line, I took it from the driveway from one side to the other side, because that's what the neighbors wanted. I could have saved one wall and done everything all over again like that, but, once again, why? They're gonna get more tax money out of it, they're gonna have a better product there, they're gonna improve the value of houses on both sides of me. And again, what I designed is a two-bedroom with a very small office, a window I believe the window in it does not count as egress, it does not have a closet in it. I didn't cheat, how some people call it an office.
Right.
I did everything right.
So-
And that's the only issue, I'm perfectly happy with it, obviously, a two-bedroom deed restricted house.
Some of this happened before I was here, and I actually don't know the
That's all,
background, but.
if you read, all the minutes and everything are in there from the
Right,
previous
so I
meetings.
read part of it, and then what happened when I was here, when we signed this two-bedroom, I'm looking at the the minutes here, and we were talking about whether it was a one or two bedroom. Mr. Mitchell said there were conflicting town records as to one or two bedroom systems. We talked to DEP and it was functioning as a two bedroom, and they were okay with that. Asked if there was a permit for a two bedroom system. Mr. Fitzpatrick showed a plan that was approved last year for a two bedroom system. So there was an approved,
Well,
or was that the one that there was
Is not
a?
filled in for number of bedrooms. The design was for 2 bedrooms, but the problem being, it's not a fully compliant system, because the permit of record is a 1-bedroom permit. And to be fully compliant, you need to have a reserve area, because you're increasing
Yeah,
the
but
flow.
here in the minutes, it says that there was a two bedroom
And there's
system.
the
Well, that's
lot, the lot doesn't.
Showed a
Two-bedroom
plan
system.
that was
Or
approved
reserve.
last, I see,
That's what the design
Not
is
the house.
for.
yeah. Man, I don't know what to do on this.
I wasn't at that meeting, so those
So-
are somebody else's minutes, but
So, well, let me read Jim's notes. The applicant has submitted a building permit application for a two-bedroom dwelling, and I have not signed the permit because its constructions would not be in compliance for Title V based on number of bedrooms noted in the original permit for the site. And the board's meeting with DEP with regards to determining the number of bedrooms for this and another site. Here are my comments to you on the night the board was considered variances in the issue of the permit for the site. So his original notes, I'll run through them quick. Soil testing was conducted, a plan drawn for a replacement system. The site has numerous restrictions to the installation of a system in full compliance with Title V. High water table, high perk rate, small lot size. The original Board of Health permit indicates the house was a 1-bedroom dwelling. The approved capacity of the facility is determined by this permit according to Title V. The proposed system is for the 2-bedroom, but the design is not in full compliance with Title V and regulations. The code would require the house to remain a 1-bedroom dwelling. This interpretation was confirmed by DEP on a couple of sites they reviewed. Given site restrictions, the only alternative is a tight tank, with the exception of the grading, appears to be sloping to the back of the property, and the bedroom count should be a 1-bedroom according to the no permit. I don't have a problem with the request. The area served by town water, proposed system will be out of the water table. So the biggest issue is the original permit as a 1-bedroom. And when I asked for clarification, because I didn't, this didn't really clarify for me, so when I asked for clarification, so, you know, he says that the area on the approved plan can handle the flow from a 2-bedroom house because the Presby system has minimum square footage requirements, but because the variance is granted, the system is not in full compliance for a 2-bedroom house, and that has to do with groundwater offset and fill to the lot lines. You know, Jim says, I won't sign a building permit for a 2-bedroom house because that would represent an increased flow over the original approved disposal system for a 1-bedroom. Without having a sewage system in full compliance. And then his final sentence is, I can't recommend that the Board of Health sign the permit for the same reason. And I remember us getting in trouble for another similar thing with DEP, and Brad got called to the carpet.
That was for
it
3
was
John.
this one and 3 Evergreen,
Evergreen.
and this one.
And this
Right.
one, because the letter's
And,
here.
and he said, he had talked with DEP, and that it has been functioning as a 2-bedroom, and they're okay with that. And he said that they said that he shouldn't have done what they did with Jonathan, is that the right word?
Evergreen.
I'm saying Evergreen. But he said there wasn't a problem with mine. That's what Jim, not Jim, I'm sorry, Brad Mitchell said when he went down to Worcester to talk to DEP. He said there was not a problem with mine, but the other one there was. So that's what verbatim. And if you'd like to ask, call him, I got his phone number.
When
We don't
did he
have
say
it.
that? Because it's not on any meeting tape that I've watched.
Okay, well, it's
No,
written
it
down
actually-
here and
It is in
it's,
the meeting minutes.
it is in a meeting and I watched it on TV.
Because
and
we
he
have
said
the
it.
letter from DEP that refers to both properties, and they issued the same thing on both properties.
Where is that letter from DEP?
In the
Right here.
file.
And this is the one that says that they shouldn't have approved?
Well, there's
Yes.
more, I mean, I can't read all this right now, I'd have to take some time with it.
I did read this, I think. I have a copy of that, I believe. Let me see. And once again,
Meeting minutes here, or you want to take them out?
well, this just says it makes it beneficial to meet with them. These are the same things. All right, so the first part of it says nothing about the outcome of it. It only says meeting would be beneficial. And again, if you watch the minutes, which I did, and I believe that minutes to be of March 21st, I think it was, March 21st. He says that I was down there, I got spoken to, the one as far as, is it, I keep saying Jonathan, is it Evergreen?
It's everything, yeah.
He said that they said Evergreen should not have been done. They didn't have a problem with mine. He says that in the meeting. On TV, it's said.
But for us to vote on it, we're gonna have to find out what DEP said and get it.
Well, it's here in an email, in the minutes, and in what Shelley, so an email from David Boyer from DEP on May 26,
Oh.
2016, to Brad, and then Jim was CC. So, here are some citations from the regulations that pertain to adding bedrooms, i.e. increase in design flow that you can refer to. So it says, since adding bedroom is an increase in design flow, please take a look at the definition of new construction, which is CMR 15002.
Placement of here.
The construction of a new building for which occupancy permit is required, or an increase in the actual or design flow to any system, or an increase in the actual or design flow to any non-conforming system, or an increase in the design flow to any system above the approved capacity. New construction shall not include replacement or repair of a building in existence as of March 31st, 1995, that has been totally or partially destroyed or demolished. Provided there is no increase in design flow, no increase in design flow above the existing approved capacity, no increase in the number of dwellings or dwelling units, or increase in number of floors. So by adding bedrooms to the dwelling, it's increasing design flow. Please be aware that even though the applicant may not be recommending any modifications to the system, there will be a requirement that such a request triggers a variance to C310 CMR 15402 sub 2. Proposals for new construction or for increase in flow to an existing construction, other than those in full compliance with CMR 15.1 through .293, must seek and obtain variance from the approving authority,
You?
us, in accordance with terms and conditions of CMR 15.410 through 417. So for reviewing any variance, the board must apply the standards of equal environmental protection and manifest injustice. But it goes on further that state that the standard for manifest injustice for new constructions even higher. So with regard to variance for new construction, enforcement of the provision from which a variance is sought must be shown to deprive the applicant of substantially all beneficial use of the property. I could be misinterpreting that, I guess, but what it seems to me, it says to me is, if it's a reasonable design, we have the ability to grant that variance. We can't just across the board say no. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but if I cut through all that,
There's a lot of history here. I'd be more comfortable if we had counsel look at it, or at least give us some clarification. Especially since
I
it's
don't
been
think it's a
before
bad
DEP.
idea since you've already been called to DEP on it.
Yeah.
once.
And again, have you watched the minutes?
I saw the minutes, I saw the notes. I know what you're talking about.
And he said he had
I-
got before the board and.
There's a,
he said
the
you can
thing
have
is,
a-
there's a file ahead of that, before that, and there's been so much going back and forth, and the state's been involved.
In the States, well,
I don't know, I haven't seen that directly.
well, under the circumstances, then, never mind, I'll just. So you will speak to town council, I presume? And presently, again, it's a two-bedroom system design that has virtually no encumbrances on it, correct?
Yeah,
And Presby allows a 2-foot offset.
Yep.
So that variance is not a necessity. The only one is the breakout on the sides, and I've lowered that by 2 feet than the original one that was designed and approved for a 2-bedroom system. So, and again, I have no issues with a 2-bedroom deed restricted on it. Now, again, the original one, though it's, may have been stated as a single-bedroom septic system, Rose, a gentleman and 2 daughters, and they had more than one bedroom in the place without question. You know? And so the strangeness of this is, that there's a conversation ensued at one point in time, that had I put the septic system in, a 2-bedroom system in, installed the entire thing with the existing structure up, an approved 2-bedroom system, I could have then taken down the house and built a new one, correct? That's basically what it is what is the premise here is. Now, what's the problem is that at some point in time, it didn't make sense to keep that thing. It was scary. All right, so, and again, I've done everything right. And what I don't understand is if that would have been the case, I want to know why when I came in and asked for a demolition permit, and I said, is there any other issues I need to, discuss or whatever, the septic design is all approved, so that's where I figured, okay, you got a 2-bedroom system designed, everything's fine. And I want to know why I wasn't informed by the building department.
Because a demolition permit doesn't have anything to do with a building.
Okay,
You're tearing
okay.
something down. You can tear a shed down, you can tear a garage down, you can tear a house down.
That's
It
right.
doesn't have to do with compliance with building something.
That's right. Now,
And that's a
and-
building
and so
department
you-
issue, not a Board of Health issue.
And I'm asking you, as a,
You can ask me tomorrow when I'm in the building department if you have a building question.
I
all right,
think
so you
that's-
do not put any of your building department forte into any of these meetings?
I am an
Like the last guy,
admin for this
the
board.
last guy was here looking for a variance for Phil, and this isn't done until the building department is notified for a builder's permit.
No, he asked if it was a buildable lot, and I said,
And, you're using your building department's knowledge then, but you can't use it now?
what do you want me to answer, Peter?
I think the issue is the number of bedrooms and how we got from a 1 to a 2, and I think that's going to be the DEP issue. So I think this conversation isn't the issue, at least for the Board of Health.
Mhm.
And aren't we in discussion too? We're not in a hearing, and does that make a difference too?
no, I mean, we could vote on this if we so choose. If we wanted to make a motion to either approve or deny. And second, we could vote on it, or continue pending feedback from town council, and then continue this to April 13th, assuming council could provide feedback by then. I mean, we can do it.
Okay.
We can
No,
go
I was
with
just,
any
like
direction
you
we want.
said, you weren't sure what the difference between
Yeah,
hearing and
I think
discussion.
it gets a little,
Okay.
I mean, I'll give my personal opinion, it's stated. I don't see a reason why this can't go forward in some way. But given what I've read, and I know Brad getting called on the carpet, I'm worried it would happen again, and we continue on with this circle, and it's possible we can get a more straightforward and a quicker answer from council on how to move forward. What I'd like to know is how we can move forward to do this, not what the restriction is and what you can't do, and then you're only limited to do this. So I don't think the request is unreasonable. I think we're caught up in some weird little legal loop, time warp here, because these houses were summer houses 60 years ago. They weren't designed to live in, and now we want to design houses that people can live in. And I don't think we should be punished for that. So I'm on board with getting this done. I just want to make sure we do it the right way. And then right before you break ground, it comes to a screeching halt because
Well-
we didn't follow a process, or DEP's gotten back involved. So I think it'd be best if we have that. I was hoping Jim would be able to provide a little bit more clarity in his email, and he didn't. And then when I asked him, even his email again, I mean, it's clear on what he wants to do or doesn't want to do, but I don't get the full reasoning in it still.
I asked him yesterday, and he said, it's in the Littleton Board of Health.
Yeah.
They're the ones to sign off on it. And that's, so, and again, talking with Mr. Mitchell, saying that he went down, they had a problem with the other place. They didn't have a problem with the decision they made on mine. That was his statement about being already down at DEP.
Yeah, the problem is the notes from the DEP don't say that. And I wasn't there with Brad on his, when he went there, I just
Right.
knew he didn't have a pleasant experience. And it may have been because of Evergreen, and not your property. But, so I guess that's my only hesitation on that. Also, and I know we have a quorum, so that doesn't stop it, but we are having the opinion of two other board members would be of benefit anyway, even though we have a quorum and we can legally make a motion and vote on it. This is getting, that's more gray than what we've, in 99% of what we try and tackle. And I just don't want to do it wrong and then everybody gets hosed on this.
Yeah, I'd like to continue it and get town council.
I agree, even with like the DEP being involved. I would like to see the notes or the notes from DEP saying.
Well, all that was in that email that Shelley sent. There's 24 pages in that one email.
Oh, that's right.
And you just got to scroll through it. It's in there. It makes reference to both properties, but it doesn't explicitly state from DEP that Evergreen is not good and Roxbury is appropriate. It says, I refer you to this. Now, if they told Brad, it's okay, but it's not captured in that email. So I'd go through that. I mean, and maybe the way it's stated is just not clear to me, and town council can make a little bit more headway. I mean, I could interpret that as saying, it's up to you guys.
And
You have your variances.
I just think if you just get, the okay from town council or DEP, because these come before you all the time, and what's the difference between a 2 that wants to be a 3, and a 3 that wants to be a 4, and a 4 that wants to be a 5?
Yes.
So.
And then get back into consistency, whether,
There
it's
is a
not for us to say
permit on
whether-
record, and so each case is a case-by-case basis, so you have to take those facts into consideration. But because this has gone to DEP, you should just make sure it's a clean decision.
Right. I mean, I agree. I mean,
You don't get pulled back down there, or you don't get pulled into court.
I also don't, I think that it's not our job to decide whether houses should be expanded or not. If it's our
No,
job
it's
to do
our
Board of
job.
Health
I
and
think
septic, so
yeah.
it's not our job to decide what should be built over in the Long Lake neighborhood.
No, I don't think it is either. But if something is,
But under her, or what can and can't, again, you got a 2-bedroom design, legal system.
But what we always do is a zero, we don't expand. We don't give permits for,
that's not true. And again, where I think this is different, and it's a case by case, if we were talking about a permit from 1995, there was a 1-bedroom permit, new build in 1995, and you wanted to tear it down and make it 2-bedroom, or a three-bedroom, even if you could build a system that fit that, I'd have an issue with that. We're talking about a permit from when Etzels were sold, in a system that, in a time when people weren't building houses to live in here year-round, and now we've got a different situation, which why, in my opinion, and I've been this way for 3 years, I've been very consistent, on a case-by-case, it makes sense, to me.
Thank you.
Now, that's where I stand on it. Some clarity from council on this would be of great help, I think. So I'm not saying and approving what can or cannot be built. That's someone else's job. But can the system be built that supports it? That's fine. And on a case by case, we can certainly, in my opinion, certainly should be able to add that big. Now, what's the legal way to do it so we're not in trouble with DEP or whatever, then, town council will help us with that, hopefully. So we have a motion to continue this to,
Well, it's just a hearings of a,
well,
just a visit, a meet and greet, I guess, so you don't have to start or stop anything, we just gotta stop talking about it.
well, let's, I want it on the agenda
April 13th.
for April 13th. We should be able to get feedback.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And in the interim,
Pre-town meeting.
yeah, okay. In the interim, again, I read through this quickly now. I read through it last night, and I read through it quickly now for everybody, but going to, dig into this, into that whole package.
Hard, because it's multiple boards and members and changes and
flow.
years
And if
and
you don't have the
designs
background on
and
it, it's
so-
even harder, because
Yeah.
you guys lived through the beginning of it.
Yeah. Okay,
I think the March 21st meeting is when Mr. Mitchell, why can't Brad Mitchell said that in the meeting, you can watch it on TV, he said,
Yeah, I saw it.
we're happy. So, again, you can see that he said, I
okay,
have a problem with mine, they had a problem with the other one.
okay.
So, thank you.
All right, thanks, Peter.
How are you?
Good.
How are you? I'm a survivor myself. You going for your Eagle?
Yeah.
What are you doing to
It was
John, can you
Uh,
hand me
we-
that?
we
Is
planted
that in the
the-
folder?
high school garden up near the entrance. And we're planting there, putting in mulch, making it like timing, so the plants would be ready to bloom by graduation time.
That would be nice.
He's, he goes for his review tomorrow, so he should be all done and completed tomorrow. being
He's on
Eagle Scout.
TV.
Fingers crossed.
And now he's on TV.
Now you're on TV. Well, if you need a dump truck for the bark mulch, let me know.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks. All right, any other business before we close this?
This is my friend Louise Nichols,
I know, Mrs. Nichols.
and she took out papers for your seat on the
Oh,
Board of
very
Health, so-
good.
Go running out of the room, so.
She's like, please have this one completed before. Are there others running, or is it unopposed?
Well, she's the one that I told you, she told me that your name is still on the ballot along with David Locke, so she was, at one point, she was,
Baker.
Kevin Baker is also,
So I never pulled papers. And a matter of fact, I told Diane I wasn't running. So,
Yeah, I thought I saw it that it said not running
yeah,
on yours.
So maybe you're listed and maybe it says not running. but-
okay, maybe that, geez, I hope so.
I definitely saw on the sheet that it said you weren't running.
Okay, good.
That would be funny.
Yeah, would be.
Get elected.
When I've tried,
Running when you got elected.
well, good luck.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Good luck.
Louise is, what kind of an engineer are you?
I'm a civil engineer.
You're also civic, good.
Nice.
Yay.
Get more of that on the board, that's good.
And our boys are, well, my youngest boy, your youngest boy,
My youngest.
were friends in middle school until they went their separate ways in high school. But my oldest son, who's 22, and her oldest son were in transitional together, so we go way back.
Oh, very good.
So she's a nice lady. I think she should,
Yeah,
I think we
close the
should,
meeting?
I think we should close the meeting.
all right. All right, then,
I move to adjourn.
very good.
I second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.